Coming to you from the greatest city in the world, this is the #1 showbiz podcast. It's Talk for Two. Here's your host, Matt Bailey.
Thank you so much, Mr. Garrio, and welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Talk for Two, another summer edition, that is. And thank you to our season sponsors, Axtel Expressions and the Tangent Bound Network. You can find fantastic podcasts at tangentboundnetwork.com. And, of course, all your entertainment needs are at axtel.com. Now, today is one of those really neat full circle moments. Our guest first appeared on Talk for Two in the summer of 2014. And he hasn't been back since because he has been busy. He has gone on to become the most recent winner of America's Got Talent, the second ventriloquist to do so, and he has landed his own 3-year contract at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. I'm speaking, of course, of Paul Zerdin. The British ventriloquist achieved immediate fame on the American version of the Got Talent franchise. Since then, Zerdin has had a crazy year, traveling between gigs in the U.S., prepping his residency in Las Vegas, and keeping commitments in his native England. To give you a glimpse of how hectic his schedule is, I immediately reached out to Paul as soon as he won back in September, October of 15 to invite him on the show again. It took until late March of this year, 2016, to get this in. And they say timing is everything, and that really holds true here because I caught up with Mr. Zerdin in person at his show in Ridgefield, Connecticut. Now, I initially thought of airing this episode, as I usually do, very soon after it was done, prior to the Vegas run, give a little glimpse, but then I decided to wait until we returned, and he was settled in at Planet Hollywood, and AGT was back for Season 11. Now, for those of you who have seen Paul's Vegas show, or those who want to, this serves as your glimpse into his process to create something really special. You can head over to paulzerdin.com for tickets to Paul Zerdin mouthing off at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas, or click the link in this episode description. I link you right to Planet Hollywood's ticketing page. Here now to tell us all about his time on AGT and subsequent success, what I like to call the Year of the Sponge, our interview with Paul Zerdin. And welcome back to Talk for Two. How are you, sir?
Great to be here. How are you?
I am great. This is great to have you on the East Coast of the U.S. A rare treat. I mean, you are flying all over the world. How much time do you think you spend on airplanes now?
I've got a lot of air miles. I really have. I've just got my gold card with British Airways, so I'm very pleased about that. Since winning the show last year, I already had commitments back home in the UK and various other places, and so I came over and did the Planet Hollywood shows in Vegas, and then did some press and stuff in Los Angeles and meetings with TV people and stuff, and then went back home, and then came back to America again, and then went back home again, and then I was working at home for 2 months at Christmas time, and then straight at the end of January I came back out and started doing these tour dates, which I've got sort of tour dates all over the place. Literally all over the place, because we're here, in Connecticut today, and then tomorrow night I don't know where I am tomorrow actually, but I know
you're off tomorrow, and then you're in New Jersey.
No, I've got a gig tomorrow.
Really?
Yeah, I'm in a place called Paramount Theatre somewhere.
New York.
Is it? It might be Long Island.
Maybe, yeah.
I think it's Long Island, and then Saturday it's Ontario, and then Sunday I fly to Vegas. And I'm filming some stuff in Vegas next week for the Planet Hollywood show, which starts next month. And I've already got tour dates at home in the UK, which were put in ages ago, so I've got to obviously do those, and then I'm come back to Vegas. So I have been flying across the Atlantic a lot.
It's crazy.
It's a good job. I like traveling.
Now these rare few tour dates that you're doing here east, did they come as a result of AGT, or are these part of your commitments that you had?
No, these were as a result of AGT. So putting in the extra stuff that's come in as well as the stuff I already had in the book, it's been a real juggling act.
Did anybody lose out, or are you happy to say you got all of those old ones?
No, most of it, we made it work. We've made it work. Most of it, we've made it work. I had to cancel or rather reschedule my autumn dates for the UK, which would be right in the middle of the Vegas run. Mm-hmm. So that's been slightly tricky, but I think we've managed to make it all work. Can you hear someone shoveling in the background? I think they're shoveling ice.
I think that adds to the ambience of
It shows we're here live at the Ridgefield Playhouse, and they're getting ready to give ice and drinks to the millions of people coming to see the show. Well, the hundreds.
It's
Top 20 people.
oh please, you haven't looked at the thing. It's almost sold out.
Was it?
I swear to you. And this is like the perfect theater venue for that.
It's a really lovely theatre. The gigs I've been doing recently, like last week or the week before, I was in where was I? I can't think where I was. I was in Canada, and I was playing to about 4,000 people in a sort of a music venue,
Wow.
which was fantastic because they have, for the big venues, they have these massive screens either side of the stage. So people right at the back just see this dot and a puppet wiggling by its side. Can see it properly on the screen. So that works well, and it's those are massive venues, and obviously the bigger the audience, the better. That's great fun. But when you're in a nice proper theatre like this, I'm really I feel very much at home.
Oh, old Sam's head probably got a lot bigger there, huh?
Not too big. The excess baggage is enough at the moment.
Yeah. Now, let's get back to the beginning of your time on AGT. A lot of people were wondering, cool, of course, the show in recent years seems to be bringing in, or seems to be finding talent from all over the world.
Yes.
How did you come to audition for AGT?
They have producers looking for talent for the show.
Wow.
And they go literally all over the world. And so I got a call saying, would I like to audition? And I said no. And they said, oh really? Oh, we think you might do quite well. What we've seen of you on YouTube, there was a fair amount of YouTube footage anyway.
Yeah.
Would you like to appear on the show? And I said no. And when the audition time was actually right when I booked a holiday to go away to Thailand with my girlfriend, and she'd never been to Thailand, and I said, darling, I'm taking you to Thailand. And then it was about a week before the audition, and I just said no, and I started thinking about it, and I thought, well, America is such an amazingly big place, and such an opportunity, and it's a different market. I thought maybe I should do it, so I changed my mind, and after they sort of said, we think you'd do well, I thought, well, maybe I should give it a go.
And now,
and I did.
Now
and it went all right.
And did you know some of the other Brits before, like Piff? That you know
John.
about? Yeah.
Sorry, he's not really a magic dragon. He's called John.
John.
And yes, I knew him not very well, but I met him years ago in the Magic Circle in London.
Yeah.
And I think he's great. And I think that show needed a character like him.
Yeah. It's just this international aspect really added a whole other dimension. And I'd worked with John about a year before he did. He did a convention that I work in.
Yes.
So it was cool to see, knowing that I had you on the show before, and to see him. Just a really cool year this year. And can you talk about getting to do Sam and all of your other characters that you got to do in Radio City, working in that venue?
Well, Radio City was. It's massive, and when you're through to the live shows, and you spend most of your time filming, you're just filming, and like your on stage performance time is it's quite a small part of it. The rest of it is all the VT stuff which they play in before you appear. So obviously your spot is important in front of the audience, but you spend that week filming, and they're throwing you into vans with that crew, and they say, all right, go over there and film this VT bit here, and you just spend all week filming, and you're up early, you finish late, and it's knackering. It's really, really knackering, but really good fun. So I'm not complaining. It was great fun, and actually when you do step out on stage, my first one, which was the quarterfinal, I kind of gave myself a bit of a talking to. I've played some big venues at home and around the world over the years, and so I kind of felt like I was in a good place for it. But I did give myself a bit of a talking to, and just said basically, don't mess this up. Go out there. You're on live television, so you want it to go well. And I just said to myself, you must try and make this work, and not forget to enjoy it as well, because it is a big gig. There's 6,000 people in the auditorium, and then there's however many million at home watching on NBC. It is quite a big gig when you think about it. And the best thing is to not think about it too much, and just worry about what you're doing, and make sure that you've got all the laughs in the right places. And so I just gave myself a bit of a talking to, and then went out there and tried to enjoy it. And I think that came across. I hope it did. But it was a big deal. And also there's another thing, as well as being able to sort of deal with the pressure of a massive audience and a big TV audience, you've also got this ridiculously annoying added pressure of those judges out there, because you know that they are, you know, scrutinizing everything. And so you have to kind of, you know, you obviously want to make them happy and make them love you, but the important thing is getting the timing from the audience and hoping the viewer at home likes what you're doing. So it's quite a hard, you know, thing to get all those ingredients together and try and make them work. I think I did them, but you're always aware of it. I mean, I've done like royal shows at home where you look up and there's the Queen in the box, or there's Prince Charles, whatever. That's slightly intimidating. So I have been in situations where I found it intimidating, but you just have to kind of get on with it really and sort of forget about it. So that's what I sort of did. But you can't forget about it because they're right there in front of you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a pressure gig.
Talking about that intimidation, we've had a lot of comedians and a lot of acts that have done AGT. Very technical question, but is it tough to overcome the fact that the audience is so far back from the stage that judge's table is there first, and then you're really pushing it out past that table to the crowd, and just that makeup of the way everybody's kind of sitting around?
The audience are quite far away, yeah, and it's the judges that you hit first, but you've got to somehow just get past them, and also remember to look at the camera occasionally and the viewer at home. Yeah, and I guess I've got experience of doing that sort of thing because I've done quite a lot of television over the years at home, on and off. So that's been a huge, that was a huge help. But it was, and I think the worst part of it is once you've done your spot, that's fine. It's when you then have to stand there and wait for them to give their appraisal and tell you what you think. I think that's probably that's the worst part, because if it's gone badly, then you've got to stand there like a complete idiot while they, you know, bring you down and tell you how rubbish you were, or how well you did if it went well. And luckily, it did go really well. So I'm very pleased. But I was conscious of that. It's not the best scenario in the world, but you make the best of it.
Absolutely. Now, I ask this of all the winners and all the contestants. Did you expect to win? And was there a moment where you realized I want this and it's going to be me?
No, I didn't. I honestly didn't. I thought from my first audition at the Dolby Theatre in Hollywood that was my first audition. With the reaction I got from that, the standing ovation from the audience and the standing ovation from the judges, I thought, well, that went quite well. And so I was sort of pleasantly surprised. I was prepared for anything, really. I didn't know what to. I was so tired. I was so jet lagged when I did the audition. There was part of me that just went, I'll just get out there and just do what you do and see how it goes. And I think that with the jet lag there was an element of I don't care about this. I'm just going to do what I do. I want to do well, but if it doesn't go well, then who cares? It's not the end of the world, is it? It's only a talent show, you know.
Yeah.
And then when I got that reaction, it made me think, oh wow, okay, that went much better than I had expected. And it wasn't until I got the golden buzzer in the next one, at that point I thought, I'll be surprised if I don't get. I would like to get to the semi-finals at least, but I wasn't being presumptuous or cocky in any way. I don't think. I felt quietly confident, but I certainly didn't expect to win it. I thought I would hope at that point when I got through the quarterfinals and the semi-finals, I thought I'd be surprised or disappointed if I didn't make it to the finals, but I absolutely never expected to win it. I thought they would vote for Drew, the comedian, or there was a singer called Samantha. I forget her surname, but she was a brilliant singer, Samantha. I was in one of the live shows with her in the quarterfinals. I should find her name because that's going to annoy me now.
While you're doing that, tell us a little bit about the AGT Live show that followed afterwards. So you did the thing, and then almost immediately you're booked in to headline Planet Hollywood as part of that. It was Planet Hollywood, right?
It was Planet Hollywood. I just want to get Samantha's name. I'm really sorry.
Of course.
This is really boring, but I just...
oh, I love it. This is why we
Samantha Johnson.
Yeah.
She was beautiful and had an amazing voice, and I thought she would win it. But I guess they have a lot of other singing shows, so maybe they wanted a variety act. They were pushing the variety acts to win.
It was funny because the first year it was the singer. Now it was a very young singer that took it, but it was still a singer.
Yeah.
And so everybody threw their arms up in the air. It was like,
Another singer.
Yeah,
It's difficult. Sorry, what was your question?
No, I was just moving on. You talked about the experience of the show, and then almost immediately they whisk you away to AGT Live. Before we get to telling us about that, did you expect to be spending so much time in America performing for American audiences?
No, although in a way I had a sort of an advantage as a Brit coming to America, because sometimes the comedy doesn't necessarily translate. But I'd worked on cruise ships on and off for the last 20 years, and a lot of American cruise ships around the world. So I was used to American audiences, and I knew that my material, most of it worked. I had to tweak a few things, but generally it all kind of worked. So that was, that I felt very comfortable. And I love America anyway, and there's so many amazing different places here. It's such a big place, you just forget how big it is. I think New York State is the size of the UK or something. I mean, it's like, it's so vast that it's, it's a pleasure, and I've been able to see a lot more of it as a result of that show. So, I'm very grateful.
Very grateful. And now, Planet Hollywood, AGT Live, take us through that process. What they did with that show.
So when you win the show, when you're getting towards the finals, they start asking about your availability, basically, if you're available to do the show in Las Vegas. And basically they want whoever's going to win it, they want the winner to do it, plus a couple of the other acts. So I got asked to do it as soon as I won the show. And it was 3 nights. That's part of the prize of winning the show. It's 3 nights at Planet Hollywood. And so basically it was the Paul Zerdin show plus support, but I was supported by Drew Lynch, who's a brilliant comedian, and also Piff. So, it was a great show.
Man, you and Piff on the same stage, had to be.
Oh, it was fantastic. And but it was only 3 nights, so it was just kind of, it was over very, very quickly. But I really enjoyed it, and the people who I'm now working for at Planet Hollywood have booked me to do, have given me my own show there.
That's great.
So that was definitely, it was definitely worth doing.
Now, what are you looking forward to the most about your Planet Hollywood residency?
That's a good question. Okay, so one of the things about doing what we do, traveling all around the world, all over the place, is that you're always traveling.
Yeah.
And you're always in different places, and you've always, like tonight, at Ridgefield Playhouse, right? It's a lovely theatre. We've come in, we set it all up, and then we have to set it all, collapse it. So it's a show that I've toured for a long time, with lots of new material, but the basic structure and framework of the show I've made simple so that we can collapse it down into 2 trunks or flight cases, and then we're out of here. So you get in and you get out very quickly because you have to. Whereas when you have something like a Vegas show, and you've got your own show, you can have some real, they've got a budget and they can have some production values. So we can do stuff, I can do, when I say we, I don't mean me and the puppets, I mean me and my people that are helping me with the show.
Yeah.
I don't talk to them off stage. We can have some fun.
I know some bands that do.
I know, well I've met them as well, at that convention. Say no more. That's the great thing, is that we can do some stuff where we know that we're in the venue, and we can do some real nice sort of production moments and stuff which I wouldn't be able to do normally in a touring show. So that's probably the most exciting thing about it for me at the moment.
Is there one?
Ask me in 6 months' time.
Is there one particular aspect of production that you're really excited to get to explore in Vegas? Might be a variation of the same question, but is there something that tour shows just absolutely don't permit that you've always wanted to do?
Yeah, there is something at the end of the show which we're going to do, which I don't want to tell you, but I would never have been able to do it touring. And so, because this show is being, it's a brand new show, and it's made for that theatre at Planet Hollywood. I'm able to do this, but I don't want to tell you what it is.
Of course.
But I think if we pull it off, it will look quite nice.
I'm sure it will. I am sure it will. No, maybe we've already touched on it, but what has been the best part for you about winning AGT?
Well, the one thing about that, people ask me, why didn't you do Britain's Got Talent? And I've been on the Raw Variety Show a number of times at home, and that is part of the prize for winning Britain's Got Talent. So if I'd have rocked up on Britain's Got Talent auditioning for that, that would have looked a bit odd, because I've already done the prize.
Yeah.
And so, the American show has been such a massive massive show, and it's the biggest of all the talent shows around the world, and that show gets shown all around the world.
Yeah.
And so that's opened all sorts of doors, really. It's opened more doors at home, even though I was kind of known at home. That's been a real help. It's generally helped, my career all over the place. So I get asked to do gigs, in ridiculous places now, because I get emails and tweets from people that in countries I've never heard of.
Is that the reason a lot of other acts are coming over to do this show? That it's.
I don't know. I think it might be. Yeah, I think they know that this is a big show and it has a far bigger reach than any of the others.
Yeah.
I think. And also, if you do well, even if you don't win it, even if you do well on the show, then you've got that exposure, which is it's straight online, isn't it? Anything you do now is straight on YouTube, and people see you all over the world. So I think just to get a few spots as an act, to get a few spots that have gone well on that show, I think is a massive help for your career.
It really is. And I mean, look at John.
Yeah.
Look at John. I mean, I told you, I'll probably cut this part out, but I had him booked for the show.
Right.
That went out the window.
Right. Oh, it's a shame.
He went crazy.
Yeah.
He was another one exactly like you. Now he has tour dates all over the country.
Yeah.
Let alone whatever
He's
obligations.
got a show in Vegas as well, hasn't he?
Yeah. Whatever else he had back home that came before AGT. So it really is a boon. Why do you think that show is the biggest of the whole franchise?
That's a good question, and I don't really know the answer. All I know is that there are a lot of, like we said, there's a lot of singing shows, and I think people are probably a bit bored with the singing shows, and people love a variety show, and it's a variety show at the end of the day. It's a variety show. Yes, there's a competitive element to it, but it's a really good variety show, and you see a mixture of everything, really. You see the sort of acts you used to see in variety theatres, vaudeville theatres, a long time ago, which don't really see the light of day these days. So it's a fantastic platform for those kind of acts. But because it's a variety show, you've got to have a singer, you've got to have some music acts as well. But it's fantastic when you see a ventriloquist or a comedian or a comedy magician or an illusionist or something, you just don't see them enough. So I guess that's why it's a big old variety show. And the audience, I mean, just from the last few months of touring and doing gigs in America, and the audience reaction from seeing me on that show, people love a variety act. So I think it's a big variety show and people love variety.
And you are a rock star now. I mean, I'll tell you. No, I'm serious. I mean, in the vent world, and for those of you who have found us through some of our non-vent interviews, understand we started with vent interviews, and Paul came up. I think you were
When did we do it? When was it?
Summer of 14, so a year before you did the show.
Oh, okay. I was trying to remember.
A year before you did the show,
Yeah.
you were living, I think, in a flat in England
I was
somewhere.
living in my nice house, actually. It's still the same house.
Really? Now, are you going to get a house here in Vegas?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm actually going over to, when I film and do some stuff there next week, I'm also looking for accommodation at the moment.
It's great. It's when did Planet Hollywood approach you?
Fairly soon after I did the 3 nights in October, a few weeks later, my London agent said they've been in touch. And I said, oh, okay. And they offered me they came in with an offer fairly soon, and I said no. Because I already had commitments and I just couldn't see myself living in Vegas. And then we talked about it some more, and talked about how we could make it work with still some commitments I've got over the next year or so at home. And we kind of made it work.
Are you excited about that duel?
Yeah, I mean, look,
Bicontinental.
America has been fantastic for me, and the feedback from doing that show has been amazing. And it's like they've opened their arms. What's the expression? I can't remember what it is. Anyway, they've like
laid out the welcome mat, I guess.
And the reaction's been terrific. So obviously, I want to make the most of that audience, and it is quite a big audience. But I've got an audience at home as well, so I want to keep my my British fans happy as well, and that's trying to juggle that is quite a feat, I have to say. But I'm determined to make it work. So yes, I'm going to be spending a lot of time in Vegas and doing that, and I've got some TV stuff which I'm talking to some American producers about.
That would be fun.
So-
I'm assuming the response back home to your win here had to be huge, had to be amazing.
Yeah,
It's so
it's
lovely.
weird because it doesn't get shown. America's Got Talent doesn't really get shown on a big network at home. And so and in fact, the last year, season 10, was on a totally different channel. It used to be on, we have ITV1 and then we have ITV2. It used to be shown on ITV2. And the year I'm on it, it gets put on some channel I'd never heard of. And I thought, oh, that's bloody typical. Anyway, when I won it, it made, I made the BBC News. I was very excited about that. And I just thought, God, a bloke with a puppet has made the BBC News. So that was a thrill. And and that, just the press kind of feeds, it sort of snowballs really. And so the general kind of media attention I got after that was quite exciting.
It's well, from the vent perspective and my perspective, having followed your career prior to this, it was just really, really cool to see you. I'm in camp. This is just awesome because it's awesome for the art of ventriloquism.
Well, I think that's a brilliant thing, and I knew that I stood a chance to do well. Because I look back at Terry and thought, wow, they voted for a ventriloquist and he won the show in season 2, I think, and did such a great job. When you watch his footage back from the thing he did with Kermit and the fine and all of that, I mean, it's just fantastic and absolutely deserved to win. It was something so different, and I thought, wow, if they voted for a ventriloquist then, who knows? They probably won't vote for a ventriloquist to win it this time, but they might quite like what I do if they liked.
Well, how many
kind of
tried? Especially in the 2 or 3 years, and then I think it kind of fizzled, the interest of Vents doing it. But in the years since Terry, the couple Vents really tried, and then you were the one in 7 or 8, I don't know how the math works out, if you count Terry's season or what, but in the 7 or 8 seasons since, you were the only other one to break through and to do what he did and win it. And did you know that the reason you got to do those 3 nights at Planet Hollywood is actually because of Terry setting that precedent? They had no clue. This is the funniest story. They had no clue what to do with the winter. When Terry said, I want to do Vegas.
Right.
Then they thought, oh, duh.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So now they've been
is
doing
that right?
Okay. At least that's what I understand from them.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. I must say it was fine. Not fine. It was funny because after my first audition, we went to Vegas. And I've been to Vegas many times over the years, and I've worked there a few times in some smaller casinos. Yeah. I went to see Jeff Dunham's show. And in that room in Planet Hollywood, and now like a year later,
it's your room.
That's really weird.
Well, they're having such success at Planet Hollywood with ventriloquists. I guess it went really well with Jeff.
Yeah, and I think they obviously hope that we can do the same thing, and I hope we do. I mean, Jeff's show was just terrific. I absolutely loved it, and it's not very often I sit down and watch a show and laugh that much. I think when you're a comedy performer, you tend to I've spent years in comedy clubs waiting to go on and watching other acts, and after a while you just get a bit bored, and comics just sit around at the back kind of with their arms folded and just kind of go, oh yeah, that's good, yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, I like that, yeah, that's funny. But you never actually, guffaw properly. Yeah. And Jeff's show was just hilarious, and the same when I went to see the first time I saw Terry's show before I knew him. It's the same sort of thing, which is lovely when you do go and see a show and you really, really enjoy it. Yeah. So I hope people are going to enjoy it. I've got some bits in there I think people are going to like. So.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes left, and then we got to let you get ready for your show. I want to know. We've been talking a lot about AGT, so I got to ask. I asked this of anybody who's done the show. What is your advice to anyone that wants to audition for AGT?
I would say absolutely go for it if you've got something that you think people are going to want to see. And as a ventriloquist, I would absolutely go for it. If you feel confident enough, then you should absolutely go and do it. And this is the trick. Don't blow it all in your first spot. Mm-hmm. You've got to save something back. And so what I did is I sat down and worked out how many spots I would need if I managed to get to the finals. 4? So it's 5. It was 5. And I think it was 5. 1, 2, 3, 4,
you're
5.
right.
It was 5. And so I worked out what spot I would do if I got into the next heat. And so I had it all worked out roughly, and I knew that I had a good finishing. I had something. Each time you've got to kind of up your game. Mm-hmm. So you've got to top what you've done before, but still hold something back for the next one. And that's the trick, is pace yourself.
Yeah. And what do you hope people coming to see your Vegas show, what do you hope they get out of it? What do you want them to take away?
I want them to have a bloody good laugh.
Yeah.
I've got no message. I've got no agenda. I want them to come and see the show and piss themselves laughing, as we say back home in the UK. I want them to have a bloody good laugh.
That's great. Are you going to do 90 or 75 in Vegas? Like, what's the length working out to? It's a stupid question.
It's about 90.
Wow.
Yeah. It's the full shebang.
Yeah. And beyond the Vegas show, I know you teased us with a little some of the stuff that you're working on with television, but while you're out there, what else do you think is brewing? What else would you like to do?
Well, it's not far from Los Angeles, and I've had some really, really exciting meetings with some producers and some production companies, and a network or two. And so it's early days, so I don't want to say anything really, but we're talking.
Yeah.
You know, and it would be great to do some more TV.
It really would, especially if it's in, just my thought, I don't know what you're brewing in your head, but if it were, like we were talking about earlier, the kind of variety show that AGT has kind of taken the place of, and it is kind of waving the flag for.
Yeah, well, I've got three different ideas. They're all totally different, but obviously all still using what I do.
Yeah.
So, we'll see which one takes, if at all.
That's great. Now, right here, I gotta play the you were on here a year ago kind of chip, but is there anything that you can premiere for us? Just a little snippet of something you can tease from the Vegas show to close us out.
Okay. That's a really good question, and I can't give you an answer.
I love it.
We're still writing it at the moment.
You're writing it?
It's not finished.
Hey, you're writing it on the East Coast. I saw you in the post
yeah.
about being in the city.
Yeah, we've been rehearsing here, and then we're rehearsing next week in Vegas, and then I've got some bits that I'm trying out back home in a tour in the UK, and then so it's kind of work in progress at the moment. But there's just going to be some bits that I think there'll be some bits in there that are a bit different. It's not going to be just a straightforward me standing behind a microphone for an hour and a half. It's going to be a bit of light and shade, and just to break it up. And I think some just trying to do something different with it, but not too different. So when people have seen me on AGT, they're going to see everything they've seen on AGT. That kind of, if they like that, they're going to love the live show. But there's going to be some other stuff as well in it. As well, just to kind of break it up and make it a bit different. That's all I can tell you without
giving away too much.
Without giving away too much, yeah.
I honestly wasn't expecting anything much more, because I know how these processes are, and I'm so excited because I know what you're going to do great things with it, and I'm so excited.
I hope so. It's a very, very exciting opportunity, and I'm going to absolutely go for it and do the best I can.
Well, Paul Zerdin, we wouldn't expect anything less. Thank you so much for being with us.
That's my pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Paul, and thank you to my field producer, Peter Zube, for keeping me on time. Peter is an incredibly talented ventriloquist as well, and you can go like his page on Facebook. Just search for Peter, D-Z-U-B-A-Y. Remember, last name is Zube. There's a silent D. D-Z-U-B-A-Y. And hey, Paul, wish you all the best in Vegas. Hope I get to see you soon out there. That would be really, really cool. Wish you all the best in your 3 years there, and we can all hope for more. And for everybody that wants to go see him, remember to click the link below to get your tickets to Paul Zerdin mouthing off at Planet Hollywood in Las Vegas. And remember to watch America's Got Talent on NBC. Season 11 kicked off about a week or two ago, and it's just awesome. They go bigger and better every year. That's it for us this week. Thank you again to our season sponsors, Axtel Expressions and the Tangent Bound Network. Stay tuned to talkfor2.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram for more from the #1 Performing Arts Podcast. Reach out by emailing talkfor2cast@gmail.com and talk about us on social media using hashtag talkfor2. Signing off for Talk for Two, I'm Matt Bailey, reminding everyone out there to keep talking for two.
You can hear more show business interviews with the stars at talkfor2.com.